Friends of Gerumbus Bruntley, welcome once again to Starfield. Now, today we're going to start with a few different things here in Starfield. People have been suggesting I should come out more and do a bit more mining, particularly because I want to start looking into the weapon upgrades a little bit more, and that would be obviously a massive help in the long term, I think, if we just kind of bite the bullet. No pun intended, given that we're doing it for weapon mods. Just bite the bullet and really dig into the mining aspect. Again, if you pardon the second pun here. Ooh, new item recorded. Do you see that? I don't know why my scanner's not working. Oh, there we are. Oh, my scanner is working after all. It does. I've added one or two mods here, you might have noticed, that have kind of changed the UI a little bit. I think it looks a lot nicer than how it looked before, admittedly. There's something wrong with the tree rendering over there, but I mean, it is a Bethesda game, so let's not give them too much credit, huh? Yeah, hopefully this is going to make things a little bit better for us in the long term. You know what, let's just quickly head back to the ship a second so that I can unload all the stuff before we get started here. Just quickly pop on board. Oops, I accidentally jumped right into the cockpit when I actually just wanted to check the cargo bay. Hang on, let's get back up here a second. So, we'll do... Okay. Okay, let's have a serious chat then about Starfield. I'm sure I mentioned it in the title, because I'm not going to waste anyone's time here. So, I announced it on Discord last night, but I think after some reflection, and now having a better understanding of the game mechanics, and what is expected of the player, and the gameplay loop, and everything associated with Starfield, I think I'm going to stop playing Starfield, at least on, you know, on a channel for a series. There's a lot of aspects of this game that it's kind of twofold, really. There's a lot of aspects of the game I do not believe translate well to a watchable experience. And the second part is the parts of the game that I think I would enjoy if I was permitted the time and the lack of pressure from presenting it and trying to keep things dynamic and entertaining. Those things that I would enjoy do not translate also to watchable content, right? So I think there are a lot of issues with it from my perspective. I think the characterization of the NPCs, the writing, the dialogue, I mean, everything about them is totally uninteresting. It's a world populated with exclusively of people who speak in one-liners that they've picked up from watching too many 60s movies, right? They've all got a quip. They've all got a thing that they say, and it comes across as none of them being written as characters, but instead a group of writers sitting around at the table and writing one character after another, and none of them really being distinct, in my opinion. Now, again, I'm really giving it a huge amount of time, but they certainly, at a cursory glance here, don't give me anything that I'm interested in, personally. As a fan of RPGs, as a fan of every Fallout, every Elder Scrolls, maybe not Arena so much, but as a fan of every Fallout, every Elder Scrolls, someone who has played
these rides are quick.
tens of thousands of hours in
being
RPGs.
In small, enclosed spaces with many people I do not know.
I find myself asking, why do I care about these characters? And I mean, you've only got to look at every other game we play on this channel, right? The majority of them are RPGs. When I look at things like Bloodline, when I look at things like Morrowind, when I look at things like KOTOR, and everything we've played, right? Even from the get-go, the characters are, in my opinion, infinitely more interesting than what we've experienced so far. I think the story is far more well-structured, and it's just not sucking me into the world. And I've used this expression a lot when we've been playing Starfield. I don't find it charming. Unlike Fallout, which has a really unique aesthetic, it has it's very self-aware, it's very self-referential, and it certainly wears its influences on its sleeve with regards to its world building. The Elder Scrolls, I mean, it's the Elder Scroll. I mean, do we need to really talk about that one? I think that's particularly like Morrowind era, but
I do find that statue pleasing. I wonder if it matches the original vision of the artist, or if they changed the design as they worked on it.
Like, what did she just say then? Break down what she just said out loud. What did she say then? I find that statue pleasing. I wonder if they worked to the original design of the artist, or they changed it as they worked on it. What about that is relevant to anything, or interesting, or gripping, or drawing me in? Huh? What am I supposed to think about is this to imply the character of Andreja is particularly analytical? Maybe. She did also immediately murder some people, and I think I've probably sussed the story, but anyway, it doesn't really matter too much. The point is, I'm not gripped by this world at all. It just seems like generic sci-fi. And again, I'm coming at this from a kind of maybe unique angle in the sense that I am a massive sci-fi fan. I've watched every sci-fi show there is, every single one, and that's not an over-exaggeration. I've watched every single sci-fi show ever made, and you probably think that they're making more and more by the second. I've watched those, even before they've been made, okay? I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and I'm a big fan of RPGs, and none of this really goes for me. It's just totally unoriginal. So that's the first big problem, right? I just don't feel interested in this world whatsoever. I'm seeing aspects of, funnily enough, No Man's Sky coming in with that kind of mysterious artifact that you have to try and decode, and of course every other sci-fi game that's done that. Obviously heavy Skyrim influences there, where you go to the temples and you read magic words to learn a new superpower that's coincidentally bound to Z. I think that the core gameplay mechanics are another big problem for me, particularly with the skill tree. I was whining about this a lot in Discord earlier, and I use the term whining because, again, these might not be justified complaints to every other person. This is just how I feel about it, and I hope that people are respectful of that. And my opinion, I should clarify, is certainly not the be-all, end-all. You know, you can absolutely go and enjoy this game. And you know what? I really hope you do enjoy this game, because if this is the type of game for you, there is a lot to offer. This is a really good value proposition, okay? You've got many, many hours of doing a lot of various activities. It's kind of why I don't like it, though. Because, again, I've played No Man's Sky, I've played Elite Dangerous, I've played the X games, X3, X4. I've played, you know, when you consider even things like Star Wars Squadrons to some extent. You've played Fallout, I've played loads of base building games, and I see little aspects plucked out from all of them. But they don't particularly seem massively cohesive, I'll be honest. I didn't enjoy the base building in Fallout 4, and I've been very open about that, I think. And I don't think that's really for me in any stretch or any form. That's just, it just seems like a total afterthought. And let's be honest, they only added it to Fallout 4 because this was in the base building era of Rust and everything else that was going on at that time, and they were trying to cash in, and I feel like it's a system that they just don't seem to want to let die. I would have absolutely traded aspects of the space combat, aspects of the base building. Honestly, I was talking about this in Discord. The perk tree seems like MMORPG busy work, right? The fact that you kill enemies to get XP, you level up with that XP, and then instead of the perks being a benefit, like a little boon to your gameplay, something you can tailor your character around if you want that for the role-playing aspect, or even for those of you who like the min-maxing aspect of things, I feel like that's something that is also completely cut off from you, because even core gameplay mechanics like stealth, which is mind-blowing to me, and pickpocketing, you can't do that until you've leveled up. So if you want to make a thief or a stealthy type of character, you're shit out of luck until you've not only leveled up those X amount of times, but you've also got to then spend an arbitrary amount of points to unlock those skills. You spend an arbitrary amount of points to unlock the higher tiers, sure, but even in the lower tiers, you spend 4 points on one particular perk here. Even then, if I want to increase my weightlifting perk, I'm sure it's going to give me some mini quest to go on. There you go. Sprint for 1,000 meters while at 75% more of your maximum load capacity. It feels like busy work. Again, if this is the type of game for you, if you're into this and you enjoy those mechanics, those aspects, if you're a big fan of Destiny, a game I have played through the entire story of, didn't really play the MMO stuff, but I did play through the story of it. This is the type of thing that I think might be appealing. For me, nah. I want an RPG experience, okay? I keep saying this. Why the hell have we not had another game like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline that, like, is a strong character-driven story experience? This isn't it, Chief. And the things I'm interested in, like the weapon modding, I can't translate that to video watchability, ultimately. There's a certain amount of enjoyment I'll get out of that people watching won't get out of that. Okay, here's me crafting for ages, collecting things, and the payoff for me is I've done all that hard work, here it is, but as a watcher, chances are you're just going to press, you know, the right arrow 10 times and skip over it. Which I totally get, because I would do the same thing if I was a watcher. The base building seems interesting, not the type of thing I want to explore in a video, because it's so complex and not something that I feel like I would be able to record and learn and present simultaneously. Do you mind me sitting here, madam? Of course you don't. And you're just going to stand creepily over me. None of these characters are real. They're just packaged characters, actors specifically, walking around. Who gives a shit? Look at this guy. What are you drinking there? Space milk? That's another thing. They always have creepy levels of eye contact, don't they, in this game? I feel like my character is very smelly, because everyone is always looking straight at me, no matter the distance. It's so bizarre. Maybe they're just sitting around listening to me. I'm not entirely sure. Well, and she just popped in from nowhere. I saw that, you fire lady looking ass. Did you see that? She came out of totally nowhere then. They don't talk. Oh my god, that's another thing. Oh, I've never picked up on that before. I mean, they talk to you. Wait, are you talking now? What happened? Yeah, no, who didn't love that in Oblivion? Again, campy. Oblivion, very campy, very silly, very self-aware. Two NPCs would talk. They'd have the world's most banal conversation. But who remembers it? And the answer is everybody who liked Oblivion, right? I'm sure most of you could rattle off a whole conversation from Oblivion between two NPCs if you tried. What's this game giving me that's equivalent? I'm not sure.
When's the report due anyway?
Don't look at me. I haven't got a clue.
I've heard Daedra worship is becoming increasingly prevalent in the Sums House. What I wanted from this game and what I expected from this game and what Todd Howard, if you go and watch his interviews, promised from this game, I think is very different to what me as a Bethesda fan got from this game. And again, I wish you the best. I hope you really do enjoy it, but the things that appeal to me do not translate well to video. I think the shipbuilding, again, looks fun, would probably just be frustrating to put into a video to watch. I think what really has kind of done it for me, and this is just like purely incidental, was my character build. The fact that I basically picked 3 totally useless skills off the get-go, and now I'm playing a totally different build to what they were, because people were like, hey, don't play that, it's a bit boring. It's a little bit frustrating that, you know, we kind of got a bit nerfed from the get-go there. I feel like everything is very restrictive, but that's just my take on it. I hope you enjoy the game, I really do, but it's not for me, and I will play it, I will be playing it offline. I think I will get more enjoyment out of it. I still don't think I will... Oh, man, I don't know if I'll stick with the whole playthrough. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing. Probably experiment with the shipbuilding, experiment with some perks and some builds and some skills and the modding, ultimately. And then I'll probably drop it, and I probably won't look back. Kind of similar to what I did with Fallout 4, but Fallout 4 I do want to give another go to, because it's ultimately in a world I enjoy. And that's why I'm willing to give that another go. Maybe it'll win me back over. Maybe there'll be a patch or a DLC or expansion or mods, more likely. That'll suck me back in one day. I wasn't particularly keen on Skyrim when that first came out, but let's be honest, both games, Skyrim sort of sucked when it came out. Maybe this will be different. Maybe it'll win me over. That's all. So, consider that my official review on Starfield. It's 1 AM, okay? I'm just trying to explain why it hasn't particularly drawn me in as a video game experience. That's not even meant... that's, of course, not maybe having structured this whatsoever. I'm sure if I really pushed myself, I could think of 1,000 more things that really piss me off, like exploring planets and going totally nowhere, having to pick up and scan for things all over the bloody place, yet half the stuff is junk, yet occasionally nestled amongst the junk is a key to an important area in a place, which is very frustrating. I've already talked about the lack of vehicles in this game is mind-boggling, given that... You know, you've got Skyrim levels of distance between places, yet no fucking horse. Or, obviously, you wouldn't use a horse on the moon, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? It just seems like something that, to be totally cynical, is an obvious DLC ploy in the future. Maybe that's just me personally, that being a little bit too cynical there. There's a lot of things I could get annoyed by, and I think I want to give it a better chance... for my own benefit, and the best chance I can give it is not recording it. So, I've already got another game lined up for the second channel. So don't worry if you were like, oh, I don't really give a shit what you play, I don't really care if you're enjoying it or not, just want some background noise. The next game I'm going to be playing on this channel, I won't spoil, but it's something that I'm not looking forward to, not because of the Starfield reasons of I probably won't enjoy it. I probably will enjoy it, but... how much do I give away here? There are certain things in life that I am not prepared for, on an existential level, and this game is one of them. It's not a game that is scary inherently. It is not a game that is unnerving or anything like that. It's probably a game many of you have played, and certainly all of you have heard of. It is a game that I personally have never found the courage to play. Consider it a little bit of payment, consider it an apology, consider it payments, whatever you... penance, and a payment for this particular series going off the rails and being binned off, which is something I never do. Even the worst of the worst Rum Rum series, unless it is totally broken and totally unplayable, I've stuck through to the end. This one, though, Gerumbus, I'm sorry, my pal. So there will be a payment series coming up where you get to revel in my suffering. Let's put it that way. Without your own suffering, and I think that's the nicest way to put it. Thank you. If you are a fan of the Gerumbus and, of course, the Bruntley, the overall Bruntley storyline, I think we shall say that Gerumbus is fast asleep, back in his bed, at the Argos mining expedition. He's drilling for stuff. Barrett never turns up. Or maybe Barrett hasn't turned up yet. Maybe one day we will come back into Starfield with Gerumbus Bruntley. And maybe he will take up the mantle once again in the adventurer. This is all in his mind. This is all non-canon. It's all a dream. Really, given that it was closer to Fallout than Skyrim, it should have been Grigner that came into Starfield, and you know what, that's a damn good idea. Maybe next time we'll be back with a battle axe and an idiot, because that way I don't have to read things, I don't have to loot things, I don't have to build things. That's big brain. See you all tomorrow for probably the new series, which I'm very scared of, Andresia. Very scared indeed.
I will not aid